Dear friends, I welcome you to our webinar dedicated to Cyprus and how to buy a property hassle-free. In fact, I'm running this webinar today from very unusual circumstances. I'm not running it from the office. I'm running it from the Park Lane Hotel, where I just stepped out of an extremely interesting conference dedicated to the current situation in Cyprus. And there was an amazing speech from the Minister of Finance and Deputy Minister of Tourism, which I will use in my webinar because actually it's some of the points are very, very, very interesting. So to start with, I will ask you kindly if you can mention where are you currently now, in which country you are at, because this way it will help me to spend more time to refer to the points which are more relative to your specific country. Because even though the procedure of buying property in Cyprus, all the points to consider, they're universal. They're the same for absolutely everyone. But there are some points that are more typical to one country compared to another. I already see that we have people from England, Poland, France. Amazing. That's what I love about Cyprus. I really love that Cyprus is so international. And judging from what is happening now in the world and what direction Cyprus is taking as a country, I believe that it will be even more international. And this is good news. So I can see Cyprus, I can see Lebanon. So yes, we are from all over the world. Okay, so then let's start. So first of all, let me introduce myself for those of you who have not been present at our webinars before. My name is Anastasia Yianni, and I am the CEO and partner of Cypress Sotheby's International Realty. I've been working in Cyprus for the last 20 years, and for the last 20 years, I've been working in Cyprus real estate. I love real estate. I understand it. I have a degree in real estate, so it's something that I am very, very passionate about. I'm also very passionate about bringing people to Cyprus and helping them enjoy this beautiful island. So that's why you will see that our webinar today is a combination of life, real estate, some pointers, and I really encourage you to ask as many questions as possible. I will try to leave at the end of the webinar some time to answer as many questions as I can, and I will also be answering questions during the webinar just to make the flow a bit more interesting. Okay. Cyprus Sotheby's Realty is the part of international community. Sotheby's International Realty is probably one of the largest international real estate brokerage worldwide. And what does it mean? It means that I can look at Cyprus and living in Cyprus, not only from the local perspective, but also from the global perspective. I can understand what is happening in the world, and I can also understand what other choices you have as a potential buyer of the property or a person who considers moving. I understand very well that Cyprus is not the only country, but I will try my best to explain to you what you can expect from Cyprus. We are the licensed brokerage, and we are always working with 4 filters, with 4 main values. We offer you knowledge, efficiency, ethics, and style. So what are we going to discuss today? I will try to talk a little bit to answer the question, is Cyprus for you? Is Cyprus suitable for your demands and for your wishes? Is it the country and destination will that will be beneficial for you and your family. Then we will discuss a bit what are the questions that you need to ask yourself before buying. We will discuss types of properties in Cyprus and what makes a property in Cyprus more desirable and more liquid. We will discuss what is important to remember when you make payment and whether it is possible to get a loan and what information, what basic facts you need to know. We'll cover a little bit the point of how to choose the right real estate agency and why you need to work with it, or maybe what are the points to work with a real estate agency, and cover the process of property purchase, the main things to know and the main points to consider. And as I promised, we will finish with questions and answers. Okay? So, Cyprus can be a solution for you if maybe at the moment you are worried about your family safety. Maybe you are thinking about better climate and better environmental situation. You still want to be part of Europe, or you want to enter Europe and live in European community with European law. Maybe you just want to change your lifestyle and you are tired of working so much, and maybe you're looking for a more relaxed lifestyle. Maybe you are thinking about the children's future and their education. It could be that the points of your interest is the business. So maybe you're worried about the safety of your business in the country. Maybe you're planning to expand your business to Europe. It is possible that you are thinking about taxes and in your country you pay too much. Or maybe the question is simple, you want to diversify your assets. If you are already in Cyprus, because I noticed that this time we have lots of people who are already in Cyprus and they registered to this webinar. So maybe you came to Cyprus and you liked the lifestyle and you want to stay in Cyprus. So maybe if you're working with a working visa, you do not want to depend on your employer for the residence permit. Maybe you experience the huge increase in rent that we are facing now, and you are ready to purchase the property and you're thinking to take a loan. Maybe again, it's all about investing and preservation of your income. So if while you were listening, any of these points resonated with you, then in this case, Cyprus could be a solution for you. And in this case, Cyprus could be considered as your next step. When we analyze what are the biggest advantages, why would someone consider buying real estate in Cyprus? The first and the biggest, of course, is the lifestyle. Then we have always people who are looking at the investment side. If you are not from European Union, then you might be interested to find out more about the immigration programs and about permanent residency. And in all cases, the purchase of real estate could be considered as asset diversification and hedging of your investment. So now I will quickly go one by one and try to cover all of these points. So if we talk about lifestyle, what are the main advantages of Cyprus? The first and foremost, of course, it's fantastic weather and everything that is connected with it. When you live in a country with 340 sunny days per year, everything is a little bit easier and your life is a little bit sunnier and you feel a lot better than if you are living in a gloomy, dark country with a huge jumps of temperature. Again, also in Cyprus, we have really low environmental pollution, and this brings us the cleanest environment and some of the cleanest beaches in Europe. The mentality of local people is very hospitable. I am a foreigner myself and I've been living in Cyprus for the last 20 years. I have always felt very welcome. So even though, like, if you're from third country, you have this funny alien card. So even when you're an alien, you don't feel like one. You feel as part of the community. Latest event of the horrible pandemic showed that we have good healthcare, and what we experienced for the last few years, we have introduction of the national health system, GESI, and so far it's working pretty well. Where everyone, if you reside in legally in Cyprus, you have access to the best medical facilities. And again, I can discuss from the personal experience and from experience of all of our clients that when they move to Cyprus, of course, it's not Germany and it's not Israel, but the level is pretty good. Global connections. Even though Cyprus is an island, it's very easy to travel everywhere. And you know, today, when I was listening, when I was present at the conference, it was very interesting to find out from the Deputy Minister of Tourism that Cyprus is increasing connectivity and they're adding more than 300 flights to new destinations a week. I noticed that we have some people from Poland. This was the market that was added to the to Cyprus mix, so there will be more and more flights. I also noted that there was someone from France. Again, they're adding 20 flights from France now. This is all good news because even if you're moving to Cyprus, you want to have connection with your motherland. You want to know how easy you can travel. What is very important to mention that Cyprus law system is based on British law. Apart from being quite transparent, it also means that almost all paperwork can be done in English. So even though official language is Greek and Turkish, when you deal with ministries, when you deal with immigration services, even for the contracts, everything can be done in English, so nothing is lost in translation, which is a huge advantage. In my presentation, I put English language widely spoken, and here I can mention that almost everyone speaks English, so this is the international language of communication. But in the recent years, we have huge increases of all communities. Now we have a big German language community. We have French language community. We have Hebrew widely spoken. So again, it's an international hub, an international destination where it's quite easy to feel at home. We have modern bank and legal systems. I will cover the banking system a little bit more when we are going to talk about mortgages and payments. I will not say that it's the best banking system. It is, in my opinion, too strict to in some point. So when you are planning to invest in Cyprus, we always discuss this during our consultations because it's very important to make sure that that the process will come smoothly and you will be able to deal with the banking system. Education. As I mentioned earlier, many families are choosing Cyprus to bring up their children. Okay, the quality of education is quite high. In Cyprus, we have variety of options. There is Greek national system, which is free of charge for all nationality, but learning is in Greek language. We have private schools of various languages. Of course, English would be majority. and they all work with British curriculum. So the level is very good. I have two children that are going through education now, and we selected for them the British-based education. And as a mother, I'm very pleased and very happy with their development. What is important to mention, Cyprus is safe country. Even though we have some incidents, and compared to 20 years ago when I moved to Cyprus, it's not as safe when you could leave your cars open, your house open. Now, of course, we are all a bit more careful, but it is no comparison to any other European countries. It's still very safe to be here. Tax system. Again, I'll cover it a little bit more during our next slides, but it's one of the best tax systems in Cyprus. And this is proven by the fact that more and more companies, they choose to bring their headquarters to Cyprus. It's all transparent. Cyprus is not an offshore jurisdiction. It's an open jurisdiction, and just the tax system is very beneficial. Also, even though Cyprus is so small, it's a country with lots of historical sites. So every weekend you can experience different area, different energy, different layer of history. So even though it's small, it's not boring. Infrastructure is excellent. So it's very easy you have all your shops, you have restaurants, and the quality is growing by the year. And the country offers lots of lifestyle opportunities. I think now we are all experiencing the world post-COVID area, when we all realize that, you know what, we can work online. We don't have to be where the work is. We can be somewhere else doing what we need to do to make money, but physically we can be in the country with a much, much better environment compared to where we are now. So this is what I mean when I'm talking about lifestyle opportunities. I promise that I will mention a little bit about taxes, and I'm not a tax advisor, so I will not be going into details, but just looking at this slide, I think this is one of the cases when zero is actually good. And you can see that in Cyprus, we have zero property tax, we have zero inheritance tax, and we have excellent non-domicile regime, where when you become tax residents for 17 years, you have zero tax on your passive income. What was also very good to hear, that today Minister of Finance actually mentioned to the whole conference that the government doesn't plan to introduce any new taxes. This is good. We have 5% pension tax. At the moment, we have 12.5% corporate tax. This could be changed, and the talks in the country are that most probably it will change, but at the moment it is 12.5. Also, it's worth mentioning that Cyprus has excellent tax advantages for IT company. Again, I will not be going into details because it's not area of my expertise, but if it is taxes that you are most interested in, then you can send us a message and we will arrange for you consultation with the best tax advisors in Cyprus. So this was where I wanted to mention briefly about lifestyle. Then I mentioned that Cyprus is interesting. Cyprus real estate is interesting as a method of investment. And here we come to some figures to understand how healthy is Cyprus real estate market. What is happening? The good thing, we have in Cyprus Land Registry Department, official name, Department of Lands and Surveys. And this is a registry where all the contracts of sales and transfer of title is taking place. This information is completely open, so you can go yourself to the website and you can check the transaction volume, which shows you the activity in the market. Because again, we all understand supply and demand, and the more interest they have, this will affect the market. And you can see clearly that we had financial crisis in 2013, which was the highest drop, which started in 2008. Then we have growth, which was driven by many factors. 2020 was the COVID year, where we have obviously a big drop, but 2021, with the number of transactions, shows even the similar level to 2019, which was one of the best year on record. We can also see how the demand is split between the regions. In Cyprus, we have 5 major regions. Of course, foreigners tend to go to the sea area, to the seaside, but in general, this is the general statistics, and you can see that Limassol and Nicosia lead the way. But if we move to the statistics to understand the geographical distribution of real estate acquired by foreigners, then we can see slight change of figures. We can see that Paphos and Limassol would be the first choices. Then we have Larnaca, Famagusta area, which is Ayanapa Protara Paralimni, and Nicosia is less popular with foreigners. It's mainly driven by local demand, which makes it quite interesting area for investment, but not so much for the lifestyle. If we look at what is happening with the prices, I have to make a comment that this graph is taken from the residential property price index, which is more, how can I put it gently? I would say that it's a little bit more theoretical, but still it gives you a benchmark to understand what is happening with the prices. In reality, the prices are going much higher now, especially for the new properties, because we have a huge increase of the cost of construction material. Also, we have now a surge in demand, and we had less construction during pandemic. So in real figures, the prices, I would say, are more on the upper trajectory, and we understand that resale properties, they always follow. So this is the where we are now with prices. Now I'm moving to permanent residency. And it's all good and well that when you're buying property abroad, but if you're buying for your personal use, it's extremely important to understand whether you can stay there, especially if you're not part of European Union. So if you are not part of the European Union, then you cannot just move to Cyprus. You need to have a permit to stay. And there are various types. In this presentation, I'm covering the permanent residency by investment. Official name, category 6.2, or unofficial name, fast-track permanent residency. Cyprus is the only EU country which offers permanent residency compared to temporary residence that other European countries are offering. The difference is that if you qualify and if you get the permanent residency, you do not need to renew it. Compared to other European countries, the investment threshold is slightly lower. As I mentioned earlier, there is no need to renewal. And what is very important is that the permanent residency is granted to 3 generations of the family: investor, spouse, parents of investor and the spouse of investors, and dependent children up to 25 years old. Important to mention that when your children become older, they do not lose this status. At the moment, there is no language exam, no medical test, and no interview required. And if you're getting the permanent residency with the idea of using it maybe in the future, then you do not need to stay in Cyprus yet. You just need to visit the country for 1 day every 2 years. When you get permanent residency, there is no direct tax consequence unless you actually want it. And from our experience, we can see that lots of people are getting the permanent residency if they actually want to live in Cyprus and if they actually want to use the beneficial tax systems. With the fast track permanent residency, the review process is quite short. Officially, it stays at 2 months, but from practice, I can say that it's more 3 to 4 months, which is still quite fast. So I mentioned that this way is actually permanent residency by investment. So you will need to invest at least 300,000 euros plus VAT if applicable. And it can be investment in residency. What I mean, investment in residential real estate. And there it has to be new properties. So it's like the first sale with a value of at least 300,000 plus VAT. It could be commercial real estate, and then it doesn't have to be new. It's also possible to invest in the share capital of a company or investment in the units of Cypress investment funds. Of course, as we are a real estate company, we mainly assist people who proceed with the purchase of residential units. And again, as I mentioned earlier, most people, they actually go for these program because they want to live in Cyprus. So they are buying property for their personal use. So just to summarize, the main features are just 2 months, valid for life, issued for the whole family, and we have investment of 300,000 euro plus. Of course, I need to mention that this is not the only program connected to the real estate that allows you to stay. You can go with a normal permit, which is called category F. And why I mentioned, because if you read more and if you discuss even with our experts, you will hear a lot like category F or 6.2. So 300,000 plus, fast track, 3 to 4 months for the whole family, and your children can keep it, and you can also start your business and run your business in Cyprus. If, let's say, you are moving and you want to retire in Cyprus, then you do not need to invest this amount of money. It can be less, and then you can proceed either with a temporary residence permit or with category F. The difference is that it takes much longer. It will take you 18 months plus to get this type of permit. And also, if you have children, they will lose the status after they turn 18. If you are from Europe, if you're a European citizen, then you know that in Europe we have four basic freedoms, and one of them is freedom to move and freedom to stay in any European country. However, you will need to register in Cyprus. Extremely easy procedure. You just need to register with the local immigration department, and you have 4 months after you enter the Republic to get your permit, which again, it's called yellow slip. This registration immediately will grant you the right to live, and the right to work, even to be employed in Cyprus. The procedure is very easy. There are some specific documents, and again, the most important is that you need to show that you have a place to stay, and you also need to show that you have a bank account in Cyprus with at least 1,000 euros available. It is important that when you get your yellow slip or when you get your category 6.2, you have access to the government medical system, which I mentioned earlier. Of course, you get these benefits if you actually live in Cyprus. And now I think that we covered why Cyprus could be of interest to you. We covered the point what is happening in the real estate world. We covered the legality of your staying. And now imagine that you're thinking, you know what? Yes, Cyprus could be of interest to me. What do I do next? And now we come to your homework. Before you start searching for properties, it is important to listen to yourself and ask yourself some questions to make your search easier and also to make your choice very enjoyable and the whole process to be less frustration, more enjoyment. We prepared the checklist and actually we can send it to you, but I will just cover main points to think. Again, it doesn't mean that when you are thinking like, why do I want to buy in Cyprus? It's not that you need to tick just one. It can be combination of all, but it's good to think. Do I want to buy because I want to relocate there? Will it be my holiday home? Let's say if you are thinking about holiday home, maybe you would be interested to rent the property out when you are not using it. So it can generate you some income. This would bring some points to consider when you're choosing the property. Maybe it's education of children that is the most important point. Then you need to see what schools are available, how far they are, how easy it is to get there. Is there space in those schools? Maybe it's tax residency. Then again, if it's tax residency, then you need to understand that you need to stay in Cyprus minimum 60 days if you go with 60 days tax residency or 183 years. So again, then you need to adjust your choice, your search accordingly. What area in Cyprus is best for me? Even though our island is quite small, but every area is very different energy, different landscape, different infrastructure. So it's important for you to experience, to drive through, to see which area suits you most. What is the budget? Because again, very often we get the request for the budget that is not possible. We don't have such properties. Okay, so it's important to understand how much money I'm willing to invest and then discuss with professionals what can I get for this money, what property type will be convenient for me, and then of course everything you want in a property, big and small requirements. It's much better to have the list ready before you start your search. Again, from experience, I can tell you that we sometimes get inquiries and they say, okay, send us everything. Well, we have more than 5,000 units in our database. It will not be efficient neither for you nor for us to send everything. So that's why it will save you time, it will save you frustration if you do a little bit of homework. Now, I will very fast go through these next slides, but I believe that they're important because, every country is different, and what is standard in one country could be completely different in Cyprus. So what we prepared in these slides is the definition of the standard. Again, standard, it's very, how can I say? It's very general, general approach, but it will give you an idea. So let's say when we're talking about apartments. So apartments or flats, they are more or less the same everywhere. The difference in Cyprus would be that all of them, they would have either covered or uncovered verandas. And actually, when you have covered verandas, it's become part of the total covered area. Because in Cyprus, because of the weather, this is definitely an extension of your living space, and you would spend lots and lots of time there. Uncovered veranda is not part of the covered area, but still it would be calculated in the total area, and it will be you will see the difference in prices based on these parameters. In Cyprus, in most cases, the especially in holiday towns, apartments would be part of a little project that would have some common facilities. Very often it will have a common swimming pool, big or small amenities. Now we have more and more projects with lots of amenities, which is excellent how COVID showed, when you have tennis court, when you have gym, when you have spa as part of the project. But you need to understand that when you become part of the project, you also become responsible for the maintenance of the project. So even if you are not using the property, you will need to pay common expenses. And it's always reflected in the agreement. And there is even the law in Cyprus for the management of common areas. To give you an idea of the sizes, if we're talking about studios, there are not so many studios in Cyprus, but we're talking on average about 40 square meters. If we're talking about one bedroom, then it would be from 50 square meters without verandas and going up and up and up. Two bedrooms would have kitchen, living, dining areas. Two bedrooms, one or two bathrooms. The average size would be about 80 square meters. And three bedrooms, it's on average would be from 110 square meters. Important to mention that if we talk about centralized construction, then the bedrooms in Cyprus would not be very large, but at the same time, let's say compared to UK, they will be bigger than the standard bedrooms there. If we talk about townhouses or terraced houses, this would be just connected houses, where in most cases you will have dining, living, and kitchen area downstairs, and one or two bedrooms, or sometimes three, not one. It's always two or three bedrooms upstairs, and there would be about 85 square meters, again, with or without communal facilities. With the detached houses, you will see that actually everything will be called a villa, but there are different types of villas, so you need to look a little bit further. So in most cases, it would be, again, the construction of the project, a freestanding single family house with a small plot of land, sometimes with a swimming pool, sometimes without. And again, there the plot sizes would be from as little as 200 square meters going up. But in general, the design, the usage of land is quite good. The residences, custom-made houses, would also be called a villa. And here, of course, in many cases, it would be custom-made design, made for you if you build it from scratch, or made for the first owners when it was built from scratch. And here there is no standard, of course. So here it can be as large area as or as small, and the house again can be as large or as small. And with this type of properties, there is no standard. When we are working with properties, we always believe that any property purchase should be considered as investment. And that's why it's important to look at what makes the property more liquid, what makes it more desirable, and what things should be considered. So just to mention quickly that liquidity is actually it's a combination of factors that allow the asset to be sold quickly as close to market price as possible. So it's not even about the value, it's about the time. So the shorter the time it takes to sell, the higher the liquidity. And it's important to mention that it's always as close to market price as possible, because of course prices go up, prices go up, go down. So when you choose wisely, if you decide to sell, then the points to consider is how fast you can sell with and achieve the price as close to the market value as possible. I'll try to speed up because I can see that the time is actually running quite fast. So I will jump straight to the slide to present to you the liquidity factors that are valid for Cyprus real estate market. So again, when you're looking at the prices, so you can even by yourself, you can understand why this property is more expensive than comparative property of the same size. So the first, of course, is location, and we start with the city. So the most expensive city for real estate in Cyprus, again, on generally speaking, is Limassol. Limassol has the highest prices for the real estate, and you for the price of apartment in Limassol, you can buy a detached house in Paphos or Nicosia or Larnaca. So again, Limassol is the most expensive. Ayanapa Protaras would be the least expensive. If you're buying the property either in the city center or closer to the sea, again, expect it to be more liquid, but also expect to have slightly higher price. And important to mention, when I am talking about proximity to the sea, I don't mean only the front line, which again is always in demand, and we do not have that many properties available on the seafront now. When we are talking about proximity to the sea, we always mention walking distance. We have lots of users in Cyprus who come to Cyprus and they do not want to drive. Let's say they come with grandchildren or they don't drive in Cyprus, so they want to walk. So if we look 15 minutes walk from the sea, this is still very highly desirable real estate. Proximity to amenities, the same. In Cyprus, we have public transport, but it's not as convenient as in other countries. So everywhere you would need to have a car. So if you have your shops or restaurants walking distance, this is a plus for the liquidity. Apartments are sold more than houses. Year of construction is important. Why? Because old construction was not the same quality as what we have now. And the difference is quite huge, to be completely honest. Mainly, it is connected with energy efficiency and with sound and heat insulation. Okay. The building quality is important. Even though Cyprus is very warm, in the old houses, it's quite cold in the winter. So like sometimes it's colder inside the house than it's outside. And the same works vice versa in summer when if the house is not properly insulated, it's quite hot. So you will spend a lot of money on your heating or cooling. Internal infrastructure. Is there swimming pool? Do you have playground, gym, security, etc.? When you're looking at the apartments or townhouses, and even with the villas, you need to check the quality of maintenance of the building and the common areas, and of course, legal clarity of the property. When we take property for listing, we have a big checklist that we check to understand that whether all the permits are in place. In Cyprus, it takes time to get the title deeds, and it's nothing to worry if there are all the other documents in place. Uh, if we are again, so you see, I'm working with you with the thought process, and now we decided that yes, Cyprus could be an option. Yes, it's interesting. Now I understand what factors influence the price. Now I understand what I want. Can I get a loan in Cyprus? And here it's getting a loan always has to be discussed in person. And that's why you see that we have on our screen the button book your free consultation. So you can book your consultation and we will discuss with you whether you are eligible for a loan, what paperwork you need to produce, and all the points to consider. But in the broad lines, you can get a loan in Cyprus, 15 to 70% of the value. It can be for 10 to 15 years. The interest rate would vary whether you're a resident in Cyprus or you are a foreign buyer. And the main thing to prove will be the proof of your income and the proof that you will be able to pay the loan off. So this is very important to consider. And again, this is just to inform you that yes, in general, it is possible to get a loan in Cyprus, but every case has to be considered separately. One more thing that I wanted to mention, because it's actually is becoming more and more a reality, we have more and more deals using cryptocurrency, and it's important to say that even though crypto is not a legal tender in Cyprus, but it is legal provided that you can, like with normal transaction, provided that you can prove the clarity of your funds, the source of your income, then again, it's possible to use the crypto, either the crypto to fiat currency or even crypto to crypto. Again, if this is something that is of interest to you, you can book a consultation with our expert and we will discuss it in more details. Okay, so we moved a little bit more in our process, and now we are thinking that yes, actually, I'm interested, I'm ready to go further and start searching for property. And the question is how to choose the right agency and why do you need us? And here the main question is like, do you really need a real estate agent to buy property in Cyprus? Well, actually, you can buy a property by yourself if you have tons of time, if you have local knowledge, if you understand the areas, if you understand the infrastructure, if you know all the amenities, if you already experience Cyprus, if you have professional experience, so you know all the factors to consider, and of course, if you are prepared to take the risk of the mistake. Okay, because of course when you engage a professional agency, then the risk is becoming much lower compared to if you do everything by yourself without knowing all the details. And of course the real estate agencies, they have a big property database, let's say especially with the Cypriot owners and actually with foreign owners as well, and with the uh, the houses, I would say, a little bit more upmarket, in many cases, they don't want the properties to be advertised. So we have an off-market collection where we have the properties, but we don't advertise them everywhere. So again, you have access to a wider property choice. And when you choose the agents in Cyprus, it's important to know that it is licensed area. So all the real estate agents that you are dealing with, they should have a license for the company. They need to have practical experience. In my opinion, it's important to see if it's just one man band or actually it's a team of professional. And the most important is whether the person you deal with listens to you. If he has your interest first and foremost, because all in all, good agent is your property advisor. And now I would really like you to help us getting better. And if you don't mind, I would like to have a short poll, just to understand what is important for you. Let's say, is it time? Is it efficiency? Is it is it the lower risk? So if you can vote and show us the preference, what is important for you when you're working with a real estate agent, you would really help us to get better and to improve what we're offering to you. And I'll have a glass of water. I really like this part. We started it, I think, during last webinar, and actually it's amazing what insights we're getting. And sometimes what we thought was important is not as important as we thought. So I'll give one more second. Thank you very much. I'll see if I can share the results. If not, during the follow-up call, we'll be able to tell you how you voted. Share the results. And now I will stop sharing results because I want to have enough time to finish. Hold on. Somehow I switch. Okay. And now we came to the last point, the buying process. And compared to all the preparation, actually the process itself is quite simple. So the first thing, you need to understand what you want. If you decide to work with a real advisor, then you engage real advisor of your choice. It is very important to prepare for your trip, to prepare the viewing itinerary to make it efficient. Extremely important to prepare all the documents for the banks, because all the banks, regardless of the country where you are from, you need to have in hand documents proving your source of funds. If you decide to proceed with permanent residency application, then it's recommended to have your documents in place. Even during preparation, we now became the masters of online viewing. So you can arrange either the physical trip to Cyprus or online viewing. View the properties. I would always advise to engage a local solicitor to make sure that everything is completely straightforward with the procedure. And then the process is, when you find the property of your choice, you reserve the property when you pay a small reservation deposit to withdraw the property from the market. And what is important to mention, that in Cyprus, if you reserve the property, then they will not increase the price, they will not be showing the property to other people. So you have enough time to prepare the sale agreement, to make sure that all the points are considered, and then you deposit the sale agreement in the land registry, and complete the purchasing process and come to the most important part in this process. You start enjoying your new home. How we work in this process. So to make it, as you remember, we always work based on 4 principles, and one of the principle is efficiency. So we always recommend to have a personal online consultation with our property experts where we can discuss your goals, if Cyprus is suitable for your goals, what are the things to consider. Then we would help preparing you for the trip and uh, accompany you in Cyprus with viewing of the properties, sorting all the paperwork, assisting you every step of the way, and assisting you with after sale service. Our work doesn't finish when you buy the property, it's actually helping you settle. And if at one point you decide to sell your investment, again, our basic principle, we would only sell what we believe we can sell again. So if at some point in time your situation changes and you decide to sell your property, we will be here for you as well to help. And this is the end of my presentation. Uh, and now I'm ready to answer your questions if you have any. This is the time when, in the chat, you can see that someone is typing, and you can see if the questions are coming or not. Okay, so I have a question from Andy. Thank you very much for your kind words. Okay, office space market for investment. Now, as I mentioned earlier, that we have a lot of interest with the headquarters, with big and small companies moving in. And there is definitely increased demand for office space. We have a market, and recently we had different type of offices. We have class A offices, we have more traditional office space. So when you say that what is the demand, we will be able to advise you, and we will be able to guide you which city and what prices to expect. We deal with the commercial real estate as well. Okay, what about smaller villages like Polis or Pisuri? Daniel, both places are fantastic, and for lifestyle, these are amazing choices. Again, if you go for the lifestyle and this is the lifestyle that you want, Polis offers one of the most beautiful scenery. Pisuri has great location that you go easy either to Paphos or Limassol. They wouldn't be 100% investment opportunities. I would say that it would be more lifestyle, but provided that you chose the correct property, this could be a very good combination, both for lifestyle and investment. What are the charges, fees? In Cyprus, by real estate law, the fees are always paid by the seller. So when you're buying the property, you're not paying anything. The sellers are paying our fees. What is the average time for completion of a sale for office spaces and whole buildings? Nicholas, I wouldn't say that there is an average time because every situation will be different. And sometimes the whole buildings can be sold faster than the small office space. If it's a new sale, if there are no mortgages, if all the permits are clean, if everything is clear. So like or sometimes we have recently an interest for the tenanted office space when the whole building was sold with the tenants, and that is an easy sale. Again, what will take place, the first is the due diligence for the property. It's quite fast. The due diligence on the buyer, sometimes this takes longer because you need to prove to the bank that you will be able to pay for the property. And sometimes the bank takes 2, 3, 4 weeks. So that's why it's very difficult to say, to give you average time. But I think that you should consider at least 1 month, maybe I would say maybe even more. Okay. Okay. Uh, to know the price ranges from list, again, there are properties in Cyprus even below 100,000. So it's a very general question. So I'm afraid it's a difficult to answer. There is a variety of properties with various price ranges. So I think the better version of question, and you can leave it, and some of our experts will contact you. If you say that my budget is so and so, what can I expect for this budget? Will you have the right to work if you buy property and reside in Cyprus? This would depend on your origin, if you say so. If you are from Europe, then you have automatic right to reside and work in Cyprus. If you are from non-European country, then you need to check, either get a special permit from the company that can employ foreigners, or if you get the 6.2 permit and create your and get your company, then you can work there. And actually today at this conference, in the session about tourism, they mentioned that now there is a new procedure for bringing work visas for the hospitality industry. But again, I would recommend you to have this question addressed in the private conversation. Yes, of course. Like, please send us Jill, send us your email, and we will send you the presentation. And thank you. Question from Andy. Do you need to have final title deeds in order to buy sell? Because as I mentioned earlier, in very often it takes long time to take title deeds, even if everything is clean. So of course it will help, but at the same time, in many cases, title deeds mean old property, which is very often of inferior quality. So actually you can buy without title deeds, but there are some points to check. You need either us or the lawyer will need to check all the building permit, planning permit, how long it takes after completion. So there is a process. So in general, yes, you can buy without final title deeds, provided that you followed the due diligence for the property. Can one buy property in the northern part of Cyprus as well? Well, we only work in the southern part of Cyprus, which is part of the EU, and everything, all the presentation that I have done, it only refers to the southern part. So I wouldn't be qualified to advise on this part, as we do not work there because of the political and property issues. Perfect. Thank you, Gary. Thank you for booking a private consultation. So it means that the button is working. UK no longer part of Europe. Yes, Gary. You will, for British nationals, we follow the same rules that I was mentioning with the immigration process, with the 6-2 or temporary residence or permanent residency category F, which again, it's not really difficult. It's just different path to follow. Well, tenants, what happens? Okay, this is Nicholas. This is something that now is getting much better, and there are some regulations. But I'm a very practical person, so I would say that the best option to do is first to screen the tenants well. When we work with rentals, we always do the screening process. So we screen the tenants, and also we would never advise to transfer everything, both electricity and water, to the tenant's name. We would always recommend to keep at least something on the name of the owner. And I think I will um, let me answer one more question, because I think that I already took more of the time. But please, you can keep sending us questions and we will continue. So the question is buying the property automatically entitle you to secure permanent residency? If yes, how many of the buyer family can benefit from the permanent residency? Well, it doesn't happen automatically. You need to provide confirmation. You need to provide the clean criminal record. You need to provide the source of income. You need to provide proof that you are that you genuinely plan to stay in Cyprus. And then if you fulfill all the criteria, then the chances of you getting a permanent residency are quite high. Okay, now the tricky question: how many agreements with the UK have been received? I'm sorry, I won't be able to answer this question, but we can check, and if we find information, we will send it to you. Okay. Uh, well, once again, I want to say thank you to all of you who found time in your busy schedule to be part of the webinar. It was my pleasure to share my experience, and I want to extend my invitation to Cyprus, to come to Cyprus, see what a beautiful island it is, what wonderful environment it can be for you and your family. And if you visit Cyprus, then I would also like to invite you to our offices. We would be happy to see you. And even before that, we would be happy to advise you and help you on this journey to Cyprus. Thank you. Thank you.